Hi, I'm Jim Rosapepe. My Republican opponent, John Giannetti, who was a Democrat until he lost the primary to me September 12th, has posted a doctored, dishonest tape of one of our debates. He wants the public to doubt my statements about a State Department report related to my service as U.S. Ambassador to Romania under Bill Clinton. On his blog, he claims, quote, Jim says the report doesn't exist and never did, unquote. That's a bald-faced lie. In the debate, I discussed the report, which, among other things, praises my effectiveness in helping to win the war in Kosovo, reforming the Romanian economy, and boosting U.S. exports. First, take a look at the debate, then see the report's conclusions, and judge for yourself.
The state Senate contest in Prince George's County's District 21. We've been talking with former delegate and candidate for the state Senate, Jim Rosapepe. We're joined now by the incumbent, John Giannetti. Good to see you here. Thanks very much for coming in. You wouldn't be running against a fellow Democrat, given your track record within the party, if you didn't think there was something lacking in the way he's representing the 21st District. Why are you running? What is it about the senator, his record, other things that might be out there?
No, it's a fair question. I think he's out of touch with the district. This is a progressive district. This is a district that's used to having progressive representation. Specifically, as many people know, he cast the deciding vote to legalize assault weapons. We have a crime wave in Prince George's County, as we were talking about earlier. People think that's outrageous. I think it's outrageous. I would have voted to ban assault weapons, as most Democrats in the Senate and the House did. Electric rate deregulation. People are really squeezed by these huge increases in rates, particularly Pepco customers who have basically gotten the 72% rate increase. The reason for that is the Enron deregulation plan that John voted for in 1999. The three delegates in the district, Democratic delegates, voted against it. He voted for it. And third, he's frankly, in case after case, votes with Governor Ehrlich. Now, I'm not saying Governor Ehrlich's wrong all the time, but on major issues, whether they relate to the budget, whether they relate to stem cell research, I could get down the list, he sided with Governor Ehrlich, and I think that's just out of touch with the values of the people in our district.
We're going to talk about all of these. The assault weapons ban.
The assault weapons ban, you know, if I were a typical legislator facing a very difficult decision, the assault weapons ban of 2004, I could vote on the title, but you can't be a legislator that simply votes on the title of a bill. The bill was a bad bill. It came in. The thing that most people don't know and has not been widely reported is that the police, the state police, the statewide FOP, several local police said, you know what, we're reading this bill, we don't know which guns are going to be legal and not legal. The bill is poorly worded. I tried to put an amendment in. The amendment failed. The police said, don't vote for the bill. So I didn't vote for the bill, and it wasn't just me. There were 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans that killed that bill.
You still think it was good legislation?
It was very good legislation. It was supported by all the gun control organization advocates, the Brady campaign founded by Sarah and Jim Brady. It was supported by the majority of Democrats on the committee, in the full Senate, and in the House. On the police issue, and this goes to the Ehrlich issue, the superintendent of the state police, who he says opposed the bill, was a political appointee of Governor Ehrlich. His predecessor, Dave Mitchell, who had been the police chief in Prince George's County and who was state superintendent under the previous Democratic governor, supported the ban on assault weapons, as did the chief of the Laurel Police Force in our own district.
What about electric deregulation?
Electric deregulation, again, you have my opponent mischaracterizing my stance on this. Every single time that I've had an opportunity to vote on energy, I voted to cap rates. The bill that came in 1999, which a member of Jim's team actually was a co-sponsor of, it was a leadership bill. It was every single member of the leadership of the Senate, every single member of the leadership of the House voted for this bill. It seemed like a good idea at the time. We capped rates for 6 years. As soon as the caps came off, BG&E goes to the Public Service Commission and says, we need a 72% rate increase. The legislature convenes. We capped the rates at 15% again. I voted to cap them again, and I voted to fire the Public Service Commission. I've been making sure that the energy, these energy companies are not in the pockets of the consumers.
Is there an issue here in this regard?
There's very much an issue here in this regard. There's a factual issue, which is that Delegate Pauline Menace from the 21st District voted against the bill. She was a member of the leadership. So not even all members of the leadership, and specifically one from our district, voted against the bill. John voted for it. He can't change the facts. No. And it is the reason we have these outrageous increases. If that bill promoted by Enron had not passed in 1999, we would not have the crisis that we have today in electric rates.
Do you think it was just a mistaken judgment, or is there something else from your perspective?
I think it was a huge mistaken judgment.
Just on policy?
Well, just on policy, but I think that it had real effects on people. I mean, I think Pauline Menace and Brian Moe and Barbara Frush could figure out that it wouldn't go to work, and I wish, John had listened to them.
You mentioned stem cell research a moment ago. Let's talk about that issue and why you voted the way you did and what your objection is with that vote.
I tell you what, my opponent has consistently mischaracterized my position on this issue. He says I supported the Republican filibuster. Man, if you look at the record, there was no Republican filibuster. The bill never made it onto the floor in 2005. 2006, I was the reason the bill made it through. Contrary to what my opponent says, I actually voted for the stem cell research, and it passed because of me and the work that I did.
His position is identical to Bob Ehrlich's position. They basically gutted the bill. Last year, the proposal that they had the support for in the Senate and the House, and would have passed with John's support and one other senator, would have required the governor to put in $25 million for embryonic stem cell research. George Bush was willing to fund adult stem cell research. We don't need to put state money in that. We need it for embryonic stem cell research.
If we're going to spend some state dollars on it, let's make sure it goes to some of the research that all Marylanders don't find offensive to them. That's all we have to do.
And that's a perfectly reasonable position. It's the Bush-Ehrlich position. They didn't want to require the funding we need for embryonic stem cell research, so he did negotiate amendments that took embryonic, the word embryonic, out of the bill, and took the requirement that the governor actually put any money into the bill. Now it's a voluntary effort that the governor can put some money into. I want to say this.
It's a much better bill.
If you don't believe me, talk to former Governor Harry Hughes, who's the chair of the citizens group pushing for stem cell research. He's endorsed my candidacy because of John's position on this.
Let me move on to something else. You, Senator Giannetti, have brought up during the campaign the issue of former Delegate Rosapepe having been ambassador to Romania.
Yeah.
Is there something about his service as ambassador you think voters should know about?
Wow. When he was ambassador to Romania, all you have to do is Google Jim Rosapepe, ambassador Romania, on there, and just look at all the blogs and look at all the people who have things to say about what he did over there. The Office of the Inspector General actually had a report that was released in December 1999 that ranked all those in the diplomatic service. They put Jim at the very bottom of every single diplomat that was ranked. And not only that, the score that he got was lowest that they'd ever seen in 10 years. It was like 3.24. And the funny thing about the whole ordeal is that it talked about his lack of leadership, his overbearingness, and he had almost a staff mutiny while he's in Romania.
I confess I had no idea there was such a thing as ambassador ratings, but you learn something every day.
Well, there aren't. You'll be surprised to know that there was a report done they do in all the embassies every several years. They look at all kinds of issues. As part of that, there was a survey that had some rankings. There's no question about that. But it was not a State Department report, right? They don't do that at all. More importantly, the fellow I was working for, Bill Clinton, said that I was a very strong leader. John Podesta, his chief of staff, had said that the reason there was some criticism of me from some people there, and John Podesta, President Clinton's chief of staff, said publicly that it was because I was a hard-charging advocate for the Clinton foreign policy, and as we know from the Bush administration, there are a lot of times of disagreements within administrations. I was a Clinton loyalist. It rubbed some people the wrong way.
Gentlemen, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks a lot. We appreciate it.
Good to have you in. Jim Rosapepe and John Giannetti,
Thank you very much.
We appreciate both of your time.
Thanks.
Jim was a great ambassador when he worked for Bill Clinton. I know because I worked with Jim in Romania to help Marylanders recover property stolen by the communists. Jim got the job done, as he always does.